Alright guys, welcome back to another video. We're going to be talking about the next section of what happened in the Jordan Peterson versus 20 Atheist video. And by this far, um, we've covered up what happened in the first section, but as a brief preview, if you haven't seen that before, basically the guy was trying to understand if all these stories were kind of true and in the same sense, why they have so many different interpretations. Jordan Peterson basically was like, I'm going to do a whole runaround and not answer any questions. So this next section, you're going to want to have to watch the entire thing to understand.
Hey, how's it going? Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you,
David.
David, good to see you.
Tell me
Oh, he's so kind. He's better than the first guy.
everything that you know about the Polynesian deity Lono, L-O-N-O.
I don't know anything about the Polynesian deity Lono.
Like how they come in with like him expecting to understand everything. It makes no sense to me. Imagine someone came up to you and it was like, hey, can you explain the polynomial format of a derivative? I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? This is how it seems in the same situation.
So you're rejecting something without knowledge of what you're rejecting.
I'm not rejecting it.
Do
No
you
more
be-
than I'm rejecting
believe in
anything that
Lono?
I don't know anything
Do you
about.
believe in Lono?
I
Do you
fail to
believe
see
that
the
he is a
relevance of
deity that exists in the world?
That doesn't even make any sense. You got to give some background on the context.
Exists in the universe, that exists in the existence of everything? Do you believe that Lono
I'll
is
answer
a
that
being?
question once you answer my question, which is, do I reject everything that I'm ignorant of? Because that's your presupposition that undergirds your argument, and unless you can prove that that's valid, then there's no point.
My question is quite simple.
Yeah, but that doesn't
Do
mean
you
it's
believe-
formulated accurately.
Do you believe that Lono exists? Yes or no?
I'm not going to answer that question for the reasons I just described. You already insisted that if I reject something, that if I'm ignorant of something, I reject it. Do you think that everyone in the world has to know everything simultaneously for that to be valid and true?
I think in order for your
Answer that
argument
question.
to be true, in order for it to be true that we atheists don't understand what we're rejecting, then you need to also apply that to yourself and to Christians and to Muslims and to any other person on this earth, where if you don't understand what you're rejecting the belief in, then you can't reject the belief in it. That's the implication of your
I didn't
claim.
say that I rejected the belief in Lona. I
It's-
said
it's
I didn't
Lono.
know who Lono was. I didn't
Right.
say anything about rejecting.
That's because I've asked you several times and you haven't, but let me get to my even greater point. You're saying atheists don't understand what religion is or what God is in order to be able to reject it fully or completely. We have someone over here who studied it in their own way.
I like how so many people already have their flags raised. By the way, I found out what it actually means. It basically just means if the majority of the people in the audience raise their flag, that person gets kicked out and then the next person comes in.
I've studied religion. I have a degree in religious studies, specialty in Christianity and Mediterranean traditions.
Not to hate on this guy, but who goes to college to study that specifically? There's so many things you can learn in life, but you choose to do this. Not to hate on him. I understand where he's coming from. I feel like, doing it for computer science or I don't know, I came from an engineering background, so I may not relate to it as much, but in terms of like the passion, I can get it. I get behind it.
And further than that, beyond me, Pew Research studies suggest that atheists and agnostics actually know more about religion and about religious stories, the foundational principles, than believers.
That's because they're more religious than they think they are.
Okay, you can.
They're concerned with deep matters, and one of the defining characteristics of someone who's oriented in a religious direction is that they're concerned with deep matters.
That was a whole lot of nothing, basically.
Okay.
In fact, it's virtually definitional.
Right, but they also have to identify with a religious tradition and accept the foundational stories that go along
Well,
with
that would mean more that they're sectarian than that they're religious. And most people, for example, in the United States, deny
Yeah, let me go back real quick.
sectarian than that they're religious. And most people, for example,
That guy looks buff. I wonder what his thoughts are, honestly. Oh, and this guy's actually about to get kicked out. Look at the flag in the left corner.
in the United States, deny that they're religious but accept that they're spiritual.
Let's pause there. You've been voted out by the majority.
That was quick, honestly.
Nice to meet you.
How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Wow, that was actually kind of funny. I like how that guy was the one who actually got the chair. Everybody else was too slow. But I like the fact that they do this kind of musical chairs thing.
What's your name?
I'm Greg. Nice to
Hi,
meet you.
Greg.
Okay, so I feel like you're getting at this idea of polysemy, where we have multiple related meanings for a word, right? Like, for example, a famous painting can be emotionally moving in that it changes my emotional state. And when I was on the highway coming here to the studio, I was physically moving, I was changing my position. If I said, I believe the Mona Lisa is very moving, and you said, you don't really understand what you're saying, it's nailed to the wall, I would say that you're the one who doesn't understand what I'm saying, not the other way around. And the way that relates to this is there are many concepts of God, and I'll admit, I find a lot of what you say about that interesting. I'm familiar with it. The idea of this kind of Jungian hierarchical thing, or as a metaphor, or a symbol, or the kind of, atheist, materialist, literalist idea of a agentic, omnipotent, omniscient being that intervenes in reality, right? So when I'm saying that I reject the concept of God, I'm aware of these other definitions of God, but I think that when we use words, we tend to only imply one meaning at a time. So the same way that I would say the Mona Lisa is moving emotionally, but I would not say it's moving physically. I would say I reject the concept of God in this very literal way. But
What literal way?
the way that God is this omniscient, omnipotent, agentic, supernatural being that sent his son down and has, caused miracles and all these things like that. The idea of God is
Do you
like,
think that there's an underlying unity of things?
could you explain that question?
Well, scientists, for example, believe that science unifies in a comprehensive theory. Do you, yes, no, or that
know
there are
that people-
multiple competing truths? Those are the options. Either things unify or there are multiple competing truths.
I think that, I know that, for example, like in physics, people are looking for like a theory of everything.
And why do you think they're doing that?
It's interesting, it's helpful.
But they also believe that there's an underlying unity to things.
That is true in a sense, but also at the same time, we don't know what that underlying reason would be. Some people look for it in terms of the theories that they have. For example, the multiverse theory, that there are multiple universes within a universe. There's also items like string theory, and also the fact that, the Big Bang, there's only one universe, then that's the only one.
In a sense, yeah, like I mean, like the material world and time and space are probably governed by universal laws and principles.
Partly that, yes, yes, but that the same thing might extend to a broader domain that would include imagination and value.
Could you help me connect that to the problem?
I feel like this guy's asking a lot more questions that Jordan Peterson is trying to ask, and also at the same time, they're just asking questions back and forth without actually answering any of the questions that they have, which is kind of annoying me personally, because I feel like the debate should, kind of go on one question and that's about it. Atheists reject God, but they don't understand what they're rejecting. We're kind of just like straying away at this point, and it's kind of frustrating.
Prompt?
Well,
But let me know what you guys think.
I'm trying to define God, the God
Yeah.
that I don't think atheists do a very good job of defining. Here's another question for you. What do you
Look at that, another question. Just answer one of the questions, and then we can get to the point.
think guides you in your determination of whether or not what you're saying to me is true?
Can we go back? Can we stay on what we were talking about?
We are.
Okay.
You're just uncomfortable with the question.
No,
See, whole lot of nothing that he keeps saying. He's like, oh, instead of actually coming up with a good thought, I'm just gonna ask another question and see what he says. And the guy's like, can we go back to our first question? And Jordan's like, no, nope, you gotta answer my question. I'm trying to derail you as much as possible. Honestly, makes me kind of annoyed. So I think I'm just gonna end it here for today. Let me know what you guys think of this video. I'll do another part of this tomorrow where we kind of go through the rest of this part of the debate. But yeah, let me know what you guys think.